Hello, everyone, and welcome to the session called What You Need to Know About Choosing Your Company Name with my fabulous guest and speaker, Will Saunders from Goodwill Studios. Now, I'm going to leave you in the hands of Will, and I will see you in a bit. Take it away, Will.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Sabrina. It's great to be here, and it's awesome to see a female-founded event like this, so it's great to be taking part. So as you can tell from the name of this session, it's everything you need to know about choosing a company name, or a brand name that I like to say. So my name is Will Saunders, and I'm the founder of Goodwill Studios, which is a ethical design studio based in the UK, in Leeds, and we help those who are on a mission to make the world a better place. So we're a social enterprise who help others build their purpose over profit brand and develop the brand strategy and design the creative assets they need to get out there, express themselves, and make that positive impact. So I'm just going to share my screen with you now. Hopefully this will work, and we'll get going. So can everybody see my screen? I'm hoping that's a yes. Sabrina, can you just chime in and let me know if you can see the screen?
Yes, I can. Nice and clear.
Excellent, good stuff. Everything else has gone off, so I can just see my screen now. So awesome. So everything you need to know about choosing your brand name. So I've got some experience in this myself. Obviously, I built brands, but I also went through a rebrand myself a couple of years back and went through the renaming process. So I'm speaking from experience as well as, you know, the job that I do. So as the great bard William Shakespeare once wrote, "A rose by any other name would smell as sweet." Now, I'm not going to disagree with the master, but in the world of branding and marketing, a name can make a huge difference. You know, if done incorrectly, it can sour even the sweetest of products or services or businesses. So we need to understand that a name, a brand name that we're building, is a really powerful thing. So what's in a name? So according to research and various sources, 70% of people or consumers make purchases based on brand names, you know, like the weight it has when choosing a product or service can really influence how we act. And according to 82% of investors believe that the brand strength and the name recognition are becoming more important in guiding them when choosing their investment decisions. So it's not just the consumer side we need to consider, the people who will be buying using our products and services. It's also, you know, the investment side if that's the way we choose to go. And 74% people between the ages of 21 and 35 would pay more for a product with a brand name that they know and trust. And following on from this, 72% of the 100 top brands are named with made-up words or acronyms. So the creative aspect of choosing a brand name can be really important. And overall, really, emotion is a really important part of a name. And studies also suggest that 90% of all purchasing decisions are made subconsciously. So we buy with emotion, then we justify that purchase with logic. So it's really important to choose a name and build a brand that evokes a positive emotion. So before I jump into the name side, it's important to understand that this name is simply one tool, powerful tool, when building your brand. So I'd just like to touch upon branding versus brand here. So I'm not sure how many of you have experience working with branding agency or designers or not, but it's always good to start by thinking about this. So there's the act of branding, which is effectively the things that we do, things that we can control, things that we make. So these are the tangible elements that we can create and put out there in the world. So you see your name, your logo, your colors, all the real tangible things, the touch points that the audience will engage with. And this effectively creates the brand, which is the intangible thing. It's effectively the thing that lives inside the hearts and minds of your audience. And hopefully, if we do it well, if we choose the right brand name, brand that bakes into their head will result in thoughts like, I like them, I share their values, I aspire to be like that, and this relates to me. So it's all about building that person in the minds of our audience. And Jeremy Miller, who is a brand naming expert, has said, you wouldn't build a house without a blueprint. So you shouldn't name a brand without a plan. So for that, we need a strategy. I'd like to talk you through 3 steps to go through, 3 strategies. So if you're just starting out, and even if you've been going through motions for a while, it's so important to understand step 1, which is our own brand, So this is who we are as a team, as an organization, as a business, what we do, who we want to help, and importantly, why we do it. So this is about our belief systems, how does that shape the personality of the brand we're going to build and influence what name we want to have. Now, the next strategy is working out the audience. So what's the type person who needs what we do and will be best served by the products and services that we're making? And we need to understand their needs and their problems. So not only the external problems they face, but the internal, problems that shape them as well. And ultimately, what's their aspiration and who is their aspirational identity, who they want to be. So how do we want our audience to feel when they engage with us? And how might this influence the name that we choose for our company? And finally, our position. So it's a very busy world out there, and lots of competitors in our market, but also competitors for time. So where do we want to be? What's the outcome of the name? Do we want to become a household name? Does it want to convey luxury, or is it something that's quick and cheap? What's happening in the market? And again, to go back to the previous slide with the brain and the head, how should we be perceived in the hearts and minds of our audience, and how does a name help to do that? So once you've been through these 3 key strategies, we can really start to get creative and think about brainstorming. So there are many ways to do this, but I've got a few tips that have helped me and helped the clients that I work with. So it's good to gather example names of competitors. So what are they doing? What works well? What doesn't work quite so well for you, and why? Explore some common themes in your industry. Are there certain types of names that seem to be, relevant and popping up in your industry? And should we follow them, follow that kind of naming trend, or should we reject them and do something different? Is there any way that a name you're considering could be confusing or misinterpreted? So this is very important when thinking about the name of your company name online as well. So does it do what it says on the tin, or is it something a bit more abstract? It's good also to maybe think of the opposite. So when you're going through the brainstorming stages, maybe think of a name that are completely wrong and something that just wouldn't work, and maybe sit on that for a few moments and think, okay, why is that wrong? And then that can perhaps guide you in the right direction. So as the statistics said earlier, a good proportion of the most successful brands have a made up or abstract word. So explore something that can be intriguing and unique and really test the name. So once you've got some ideas for the name, it's good to, acid test it before you buy the domain name or register anything. So test if they fit in a social media username, because there's often quite restricted character counts. If not, is there any way you could, shorten it, but still maintain the integrity of the name? It's useful to use certain tools to kind of check if the name has been taken. So there's a website called namecheck.com. That's namechk.com. And also consider how your chosen name might work in a URL. So remember, it will be often presented all lowercase with no spaces. So make sure that the name doesn't accidentally spell a rude word. There's a few examples I can go through, but perhaps don't need to do it right now. But all these tips that we can go through based on the strategies that I just spoke about before can help us do that. So I've got a free resource for you, which I'm hoping one of our lovely team will be posting in the chat. And there's a link on the screen here. So it's the Find Your Brand Voice worksheet, which helps you to work out how we want to be positioned, how we want to, be perceived in the marketplace, and just really kickstart some ideas. So that's a free resource for everybody who's attended this event as a thank you for joining. And next steps, if you'd like to, have a chat with me about building a brand name, happy to have a discovery call with you. So visit my website here, goodwillstudios.com, click to arrange a discovery and begin your brand strategy to make an impact. So any questions? And Sabrina, I'd like to welcome you back into the room.
Hi there, Will. That was fantastic. Branding. I'm a big branding fan. So this was wonderful to watch and see. So we're going to move into some Q&A. We've just lost Will. Let's get him back on stage. 1 second. So he can answer your questions. I'm just going to locate Will and see if we can get him back on. So whilst we wait for Will to come back and join us to do the Q&A, I would love to have any questions from anyone after that session. Obviously, branding is a big part of your business. And I think the point that Will made on branding versus brand is extremely important. There is definitely a huge difference to that. Here we go. We've got Will back. Hey, Will.
Hello.
I love it. Virtual. This is what it is. It's all good. So we were just saying, if anyone has any questions, to drop them in the chat, and we will answer them. But I had a question for you, Will, actually. Now, I know in the lead up to this event, you told us that you recently went through your own rebranding and renaming process for your own business. So can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, sure. So I'm in the design world for about 15 years now, self-employed for around 7 of those years, half that time, as the founder of a small design agency.
Mm-hmm.
And we used to be called Studio Raygun, which at the time was a really fun name, because I was all about, it was basically all about me. I designed this because I liked it. It was a bit sci-fi. And at the time we wanted to be this cool design agency. And over the years, we were evolving into becoming more of a social thing, so working more with charities and such. And I was thinking that that was the way that I wanted to take the business. And I really realized that Studio Raygun, this like science and branded business, it just wasn't right. It was like, okay, something, and it's because I didn't go through my own strategy steps. I didn't think about the audience. didn't think about how I really wanted to be perceived. It was just, this sounds cool, let's do it.
Yeah.
So about 2 years ago now, I rebranded, understanding that I wanted to be an ethical design business with charities, social enterprises, purpose over profits. So I rebranded Goodwill Studios. So using my own name into the business name, and Goodwill, as in it's about
Goodwill, exactly, giving back, right?
So I think that kind of works. And the word studio. So if people don't know what it is at the start, they might know what it is at the end. So a name can say an awful lot in a short amount of time.
Absolutely.
So that was the process that I went through, and it's always interesting to.
It is. I think, and I think it's valid to also acknowledge and understand that where you start might not always be where you end up. So you could start with a brand, and like yourself, you go straight to the action step without taking the blueprint step of actually the foundation and the strategy as you've gone through in your session, and then you come to that point where like, okay, actually I have evolved and my brand has evolved, and I think it's time for us to do a rebrand, and I think this is common for a lot of businesses, but it's always great to have that insight when you begin. So we've got some great questions. Number one question is from Mario. He's the owner of Be Free Selling. So he's asked, what tips do you have to be able to connect your brand with your customer emotionally?
So, sorry, what was the name of the
Mario?
person? Mario.
Yes.
Fantastic question. So it's always good to reflect on your own story. So what has made you the person you are? How has that influenced the business that you have now built, and bake that into the story of your brand so your audience can resonate that, there are people behind the brand name, behind the logo, and also work out how you can try to really make your audience the hero of that story. So understand what are their challenges, what are their pain points, and reflect that in the story that you tell too. So it's like, okay, you have been through these challenges. I understand because I've been through those challenges too. So
fantastic.
Does that answer that question?
That is, for me, that's a great answer. And thank you very much for your question. And the second question comes from Susan Arma. She's a social worker, and she's asked, if you have chosen a name and got a domain, can the brand name be changed?
It can. It's exactly what I did. So on the surface, it's very easy to just change your website URL and kind of redirect things, update your social media profile account. Legally, you can potentially keep your old name, but just basically change the name in which you actually do business under. So, for example, it would be, if I didn't change my name legally, it would be Goodwill Studios, a trading name for Studio Raygun. So if you don't have the time or resources or space for right now to do the full change, you can still change your name on the surface, but still have your old name, for the time being, until you legally go through whichever process based in whichever country you're in to re-register your business name.
Fantastic. Thank you for that. Thank you, Susan, for your question. Next question from Leanne. She's CEO of Kindness Melts. How would you build that personal connection with potential customers and give them the trusting feeling through branding?
Yeah, so that's similar to kind of
Mario's question. Yeah,
which is good because it shows that that's what we need to do.
Yeah.
It depends. Also, just to build upon the answer I gave earlier, it depends on like the industry or the audience. So if you're selling your wax or candles or wax things, I think it is candles, it might be good to talk about not just the candle itself, like, the size of it, the scent. We can talk about like why we do that and the outcome of that experience is.
Mm.
So I was actually speaking in the other chat earlier about how she kind of, you know, supports mental health charities through her business. That's something that's great to put, you know, quite central in the marketing that you do. So people who are in the market to buy a candle, they might be convinced to buy this candle over the other one because there's a good cause attached to that, and it kind of taps into, you know, being a good person wanting to help. This is an ethically made thing that supports a good cause. So threading that into the story and the marketing that you do is always a good idea to use these assets.
Fabulous. Now we've got one last question. Let me just bring that up. And it's, let's see, I'm trying to think. I'm just trying to see which is clear. So we've got one more question from Mario. He threw one more here. I asked this in the chat. If everybody in your niche is doing one thing, is it a good idea to just follow, or perhaps do something different in order to stand out from the crowd?
Interesting. So there is no way that we will be 100% unique in what we do. You know, there are always people who sell candles. There are always, you know, design agencies. I suppose it's about who we want to reach, you know, what is the kind of person that we're talking to. And then we can take some steps once we've understood that in really designing our business around their needs. So think about the audience. Would a more kind of soft, caring approach work better than like an action and strong kind of approach? So we might sell the same thing, but if we want to be seen as a warmer, friendly brand, or a bit more like, you know, strong and action focused, there are subtle changes that we can make in the marketing, in the wording, in the visuals of our website and our brand identity that help to, you know, not only kind of differentiate ourselves from the competition, but to speak better to our target audience. And only once we understand, like, you know, the minds of our key or core audience, then we can make those changes in the business. Hope that makes sense.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Will, for this session and for your advice and insights. And thank you, everyone, for joining us in this session. Now, you can continue on into the lounge when this session ends, and you can join Will in there and ask him more of your questions, pull up a seat, and continue the conversation. So thank you, everyone, and we'll see you back for the next session with another fantastic speaker. And thank you very much, Will.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you. Take care.